Hey, what's going on, y'all? My name is EA. Welcome back to the channel. You're chilling with EA. I really appreciate you joining me today. This is your first time. Look, thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. If you've been chilling with me in the past on the various videos that I've uploaded, look, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your motivation, your encouraging words. It's so invaluable. It's been so invaluable to me. You would not believe. You would not believe. But yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you have not checked out my cooking channel, Dining with EA, you got to go over there and check that out. I'm pushing out some banging recipes every week, okay? And if you have recipes you'd like for me to try, go ahead and drop them in the comment, or hit me up on my Instagram. That's at prototype _60, at prototype _60, okay? If you have some recipes you'd like for me to try, you want to share, you know, I'll definitely give you a shout out, okay? I'll definitely give you a shout out. So, but look, welcome to today's video. All right, in this particular video, you know, we're going to be diving into part 2 of my Why Behind the Design series, where I, you know, focus on creating spaces that are not just beautiful, but truly intentional, right, and purposeful. You know, because for me, you know, when it comes to decorating or designing a room or space, it's just as important to me to create the right vibe for a space and function of a room as it is, you know, how it looks. So intentional, everything is intentional, nothing is random, and everything is purposeful, right? Nothing is just thrown together, okay? One of the things I failed to do is provide you with links in the initial reveals for different rooms in the house. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that I post a link to the items that I showcase that are in the living room area. You know, I'll leave those things in the description for you, okay? So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and move into this part 2 of the Why Behind the Design series, and this is gonna be the living room edition. All right, so let's hit it. And oh yeah, before we jump into it, I just want to share something very important. Let me say this: design, interior design, home decor selections and preferences, you know, that's all personal, okay? My choices are simply, you know, my choices. And everyone's taste is a little bit different, right? You know, so I encourage you, you know, to embrace where you are, avoid comparing your space to others, and instead just express yourself, you know, through enhancing your own home in a way that reflects you, all right? Just wanted to show that, throw that out there. Okay, and keeping with the theme that interior design, home design, and decor needs to be intentional and purpose, right? Let's start with, you know, these. I got a couple examples for you, right? And here they are. Here you have a traditional living room with a matching leather sofa, love seat and chair, paired with, you know, dark wood tables, okay? While it's coordinated, right, the appearance is extremely, it has heavy tones. Because of the fact that it's dark, right? It's heavy tones. It has a weight. It weighs down the space, right? And it kind of creates, because it's so dark, it kind of creates a closed-in, almost suffocating feel, right? Now, on the other end of the spectrum, here's an all-white furniture arrangement. It's light and airy, yes, but it's still, you know, extremely bland. It's missing personality and it does not provide that, doesn't have that spark. It doesn't really spark interest or make the room feel alive, because the warmth is missing, primarily because there's no color accents associated with the design, right? So, you know, this gray set is very, very similar. It's rather weighed down as well. It's dark floors, dark wood, but it's also lacking texture and warmth. One thing to remember: if you have large, dark pieces of furniture, they'll quickly dominate the room. You know, what happens is that they actually absorb light. They make the space feel smaller, heavier, sometimes even gloomy, right? Especially, you know, if the room doesn't get a lot of natural light. While dark tones can work in moderation, too many oversized dark elements can overwhelm the eye and limit the sense of openness in your space. Now, on the flip side, you know, your lighter colors of fabrics, you know, they have an opposite effect, right? They actually reflect light, which helps, you know, the room feel more open, airy, and inviting, right? So lighter upholstery finishes can lift the mood of a space, creating a sense of calm and freshness. And they also give you more flexibility, you know, to layer in textures, patterns, and accent colors, which allow you, you know, your personality to shine without the room feeling too heavily weighed down.
It's really all about balance. When you use light tones as your foundation, and you really create a canvas that makes the whole space feel brighter, and more welcoming. Think about how you feel, when you're walking through a new home or a model home, or when you're visiting a nice, you go to a nice high-end hotel or resort or something like that. You remember more about, how it made you feel than what you actually saw, right? Here are a couple of examples of more modern, refined arrangements where every piece feels chosen, not just purchased, right? And the balance, you see the balance. You have a balance of style with comfort, personality, and they're functional. It's a very, very functional layout. So this is my living room space, my great room. And what I'll do, I'm just going to walk you through, how I apply, some of these principles, right, in designing, my own space. The best decision I made was actually purchasing and finding this camel colored leather sofa because it's definitely the heart of the room. The color is warm, it's timeless, and it's neutral. Instead of end tables, right? I opted to just have an open space, creating a cleaner and more breathable layout because I didn't need traditional lamps on each side. First of all, the space would not accommodate that type of arrangement. Secondly, I would rarely, if ever, even use the lamp lighting. So practicality, and function, dictated my choice. And to the right, I placed a pair of light linen accented chairs. On the left, another matching set. This time terry cloth. They have terry cloth seat, which is with terry cloth seating with warm, wood trim, which I think really balances out the room, while mixing textures. You have the linen and you also have the soft terry cloth seating there. And behind those chairs are two tall windows. The windows, what I decided to do was dress them in a ivory linen with ivory linen curtains, right? It wasn't a bet, hard choice because I wanted the environment to stay, or the atmosphere to feel to be a very light and not heavy one. Right. So in order to keep the area feeling light, I realized that darker curtains would have created a heavy feeling in the room, and we also would have reduced the light from entering the space. And as you can see, nestled in between them, I have that bold 84 by 49 mirror, with the thick oak trim. It reflects light and it also pulls the room together without, adding too much clutter. Love those curtains. And I will leave them in the description. Now, what I decided to do, since the room was rather large, the right coffee table was it was very important for me to get this right. Didn't want a small table. I needed a table that was, again, functional, where wherever you sat, it was accessible to you, and to place drinks or and things of that nature. So what I decided to do was to I was fortunate to find this white marble coffee table. Now this table is sleek yet large enough, to adequately fill the space. And like I said, it's reachable from each sitting area. And on top of the coffee table, what I did was I layered it with some intentional accents. All these accents were intentional. I used a white vase that I actually DIY'd. It was originally gold, and I placed it on top of a black serving tray, which I DIY'd as well. Inside the vase, I placed some greenery and some lavender and white blooms, which I think adds a kind of a fresh look and a fresh feel to the space. And as you can see, I also stacked books. Now, the books serve several purposes. They elevate the space, and books also, create a kind of curiosity and a refined feeling. And I went ahead and included the candle holder, which late evening provides just the right amount of light, for that very cozy feel. Now, in front of the sofa, and coffee table, I placed 2 olive green, I think they're called poufs, P-O-U-F-S, right? Poufs, which provides, a nice pop of natural color, and also offer, extra seating, to take care of that overflow, if you will. And remembering, keeping in mind functionality, these poofs provide, some little hidden storage, little secret compartments, right? Again, this is where functionality, meets style. Love the color. And now, directly, opposite, the sofa is the main focal point of the room, right? And that is my very dramatic floor-to-ceiling fireplace, which I painted in a midnight blue color from Benjamin Moore. It has that rich brick facade, white brick facade, and oak mantle with the nice white hearth base. It really brings warmth and depth to the space. Each side of the fireplace, I place tall white, well, they're not that tall, but they're white marble credenza cabinets. On top, I have matching lamps on each side, of course, and I also have a few candle holders and intentionally a non-matching decor arrangement just to keep the space, interesting. And what, I really need to say a little bit more about these marble credenzas that flank the fireplace, man. Check this out. When I saw them, I realized that I knew exactly what I was going to do with them, because they're modern in silhouette, but they're timeless in terms of the material. They're smooth. The smooth marble tops, bring a touch of luxury to the space, while the clean lines just keep the look fresh and contemporary. And beyond their visual statement, their visual appeal, these cabinets, they're highly functional. They offer concealed storage that keeps, the living room area clutter-free. They also anchor the fireplace visually. They create a balance and a kind of symmetry, while also, serving as a kind of a versatile surfaces for decor and lighting and the seasonal accents that, you see that I've decided to place on top of them. Now at the center of the room, is my soft cream color rug, with that subtle black detailing. The light base, really keeps the space feeling open and airy, while the little black accents that you see, it kind of echo, other elements in the room, from the fireplace framing to the, the cabinet hardware, just tying the entire color palette together. It's understated, yes, it's intentional, because it grounds the furniture without overpowering the overall design, and it adds just the right amount of contrast to, again, to keep the look, visually, interesting. Now, to complete the look, we really have to talk about lighting. If you've been following my videos, you know that every makeover reveal, I always show the space in both daylight and nighttime settings. And that's because, lighting actually changes everything about how a room feels and functions. For instance, natural light during the day, will actually bring out the true colors, the textures, and openness of the design. But at night, the night artificial lighting, whether it's warm ambient glow type lighting, whether it's accent lighting or task lighting, that can completely transform the mood, making the space feel cozy, dramatic, or intimate, right? So selecting the right lighting, is just as important as choosing the right furniture or color palette, because it ensures that your room looks and feels, its best at any time of the day. Now, when designing lighting for my living room, atmosphere that felt both cozy, and spacious. So I chose an amber lit chandelier, which is a farmhouse design chandelier that really casts a soft and warm glow, throughout the entire room. I think I'll turn it on so that you guys can see it. But it's perfect for setting a relaxing mood without being too harsh. And near the fireplace, I added lamps. Of course, the lamps, and they emanate a amber lighting, type of amber, soft amber lighting as well. And these, they really gently, illuminate the fireplace, so you can appreciate the architectural structure, and also, the entire right side of the living room, as you can see, highlighting, that area as a natural focal point, and really making it feel extra inviting. To make the wall, and also, I mentioned earlier the lighting options I used that I put on the lower outlets in the on the walls. They actually make the wall appear taller, and the space feel more open. I placed that softer lighting lower on the walls, and the reason why I did that, is that that subtle upward glow, it kind of tricks the eye into perceiving more height, which adds a sense of grandeur, without there being any construction or anything like that. So layering these different light sources from the chandelier overhead to the lamps and the wall lighting really, helps avoid the harsh shadows, and it creates a sense of depth in the space, as you can see. And it also makes the room feel balanced, right? Comfortable, and it's really easy on the eyes, whether I'm reading, relaxing, or if I choose, to entertain. For me, lighting isn't just about brightness, it's about actually crafting a mood, and making the space truly feel like home. So before we close, I'm going to share with you guys 5 tips for, to help you in achieving that fresh, functional look, in your space. Okay. I would say number 1, don't be afraid to mix materials, wood, marble, leather, metal, mixing textiles, or textures rather, not textiles, textures, actually adds depth and interest in your space. And layer your lighting. You can skip the traditional 2 matching lamps next to the couch on the end tables if you don't use those lamps in that fashion, right? You can use a floor lamp, try 1 statement lamp, or candles, or, again, floor lighting, instead, that would work, Candles are the bomb, man. They're like fire though, And also keep the layout open, removing, you want to remove bulky side tables, that give you space, you want your space to breathe, right? And you also want it to be accessible. You don't want anything that's going to obstruct your movement, in your spaces. And also add some personal touches, intentionally, use books. You can use books to elevate smaller items on your coffee table and your other, on your credenzas and so forth. Use vases, or, meaningful objects, on your coffee table to reflect your style. If you're new to decorating, just remember, don't decorate to fill space. Design with intention. Think about how you want the room to function, how you want it to feel, and let that guide your choices. Hope you enjoyed the video. Decide to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. My name is EA. Peace.